All right, folks, in this video, I'm going to walk you through how to build your own Shopify store from the ground up. Whether it's for a brand, product, or whatever idea you're running with, I'll show you how to pick a theme, add your content, tweak the layout so it actually feels like your store, and other things along the way. And if you haven't signed up for Shopify yet, don't worry, you can try it for free 3 days, and after that, it's just $1 a month for the next 3 months. No pressure. So I'll drop the link in the description for that if you want to check it out. So when you log into your Shopify account, you're going to find yourself at the dashboard. And from here, what I want you to do is ignore all this information. Rather, go down to your online store tab right here. And from this page, just make your way down to the bottom of the page until you find the Visit Theme Store button. And on this page, you can choose which theme you want. You can go the free route, the paid, or just narrow down which industry you're looking for to make it easier to find something that applies to your situation. In this case, let's go with free. Whichever theme we pick, we can actually try it out without it being a permanent change to our site. So for example, if we choose the Spotlight theme, we can click Try Theme and customize it without, like I said, it actually being applied to our store immediately. But you can also view the demo store by clicking down here and see what this looks like in a practical setting. If you do like a particular theme, click on Try Theme, and then it's going to take maybe 10-20 seconds for this to be downloaded to your dashboard, as you'll see here. And I'm just going to give it a minute so I can show you what I'm actually trying to say. So like I said, once you download a theme, it's going to be applied to your theme library, and you can customize it by clicking on that button, but I'm not going to go into too much depth on that. Just know that you have the opportunity to try things out before you actually make a final decision. If you do agree to go with it, click on publish and then click on publish here. However, I'm going to use the default theme because that is my personal favorite. So if you want to remove a theme, just click on these 3 dots, click on remove, and then voila, it is gone. Now what I want you guys to do is to right click on customize and open this link in a new tab, simply so we can have easier access to our dashboard. So with that being said, let's head over to this tab. Inside the editor, you'll see a preview of your site on the right hand side and a list of sections on the left. This is where you build the actual structure of your homepage. So to start, you've got your header at the top, footer at the bottom, and all the content for your site in between. Now you can also drag sections around by clicking on these 6 dots, and you can rearrange them as you see fit. We'll be doing more of this later on, but that's just the gist of it. And also you can add sections by clicking on the add section button over here, which we'll do later on, or you can hover in between sections like this and do it as such. You also can preview the site that you're making on a mobile layout or a desktop. So we're already on desktop, but if you want to see what your site looks like on a mobile layout, you just click the mobile icon here, and then you'll be able to see what it looks like in that format. Now you don't have to worry too much about editing both at the same time because Shopify does a good job of adjusting it for all kinds of platforms, but you can check it out if you want to. So with that being said, let's start with customizing the banner section. This is the first thing people see after all, so we have to make it count. Now what you got to do is click on the banner, and then over here, make sure to select the image. Now what you have to do is just drag and drop photos into Shopify as such. And then once you're satisfied with the picture, you'll see it pop up on the homepage. From the left-hand side, we have quite a few customization options. Now this is perhaps a little too large for our banner, so we're gonna make it medium to see how that looks. So that's not too shabby. And you can also change the position of the content. So the content in this case is the header text here and then the button. So as you can see, it moves around depending on where we want to put it. And in my opinion, that's not too bad of a place to have it. And so to change the text itself, as well as the text for the button, just click on them and then change the content accordingly. One thing I also like to do with pictures is to change the animation. Now this doesn't apply to all photos, but to some. And so if you want to change the animation of a picture, just go to the banner or whatever picture you want to do this for and head down to animation here. And personally, I like ambient movement. It very gradually, hardly even noticeably moves, but it adds a little life to your site. And you know what? On second thought, let's change the height to be small just because it looks a little cleaner. So we're going to leave it at that. Now let's talk about fonts and colors. So to change these, just go to the left-hand side and click on the little gear icon here. this is your theme settings. Under typography here, you'll see separate font options for headings and body text. Now, there is one catch to this. When you select one of these options, make sure you click select down here so that it actually applies those changes. Otherwise, it's just going to revert to the previous settings. Now, for the colors, you just go to the colors tab and you click on one of these color schemes, or you can add your own. And from here, you can adjust your backgrounds, buttons, accents, text, everything. And all you do is click on one of these icons and then play around with the color palette until you find something that suits your style. You can see how the menu icons were changing and the color was changing according to what I was doing in the colors tab. So again, try that out, see what works for your site. And next on the pecking order is to change our logo. And to do so, very simple, click on the logo tab and then just drag and drop your photo into Shopify as we did with the banner. To change the position of the logo itself, well, we have to click on the header and then click on logo position right here. And I'm going to place it top center, just a personal preference. Now, you can also change the color scheme from here as well, but I'm going to change the colors later on for the site. First, I want to get all our content where it needs to be, and then we can worry about the colors later. Now, what I want to do is to add our products. And for that, we have to go back to our dashboard, and then on the left-hand side, click on products, and then click add product. First things first, include a title, easy enough. Then in the description, you can write your own, or you can click this generative text icon and then input some keywords and then have the AI create a description for you. So you can also change the tone to any of the presets here or include your own custom tone. In this case, we're going to leave it as is. Down below, we can include our photos. So much like what we did with the other photos on our site, drag it, drop it, and Shopify will take care of the rest. Beneath this, we have the pricing. So this is also pretty self-explanatory. So in this case, we're going to put it at $99. The compare price is just the discounted price. So for example, if you wanted to put the price at $70, then you would leave $99.99 here and then put $70 on the right. And then on your site, it would show that it's at a discounted price. Cost per item, that's just how much profit you're going to make based off of how much money it takes you to provide this particular item. Track quantity, that's self-explanatory. I would also just recommend to put in how much of this item you have. Shipping, also very self-explanatory. But for the variants, this is where you input things like size, color, maybe the material. If you have, let's say, a book, is it a limited edition? Things of that nature. And so what I can do here is I can click on this one. The great thing about Shopify is that it identifies the photo and then it's like, okay, this is a blue pool. So that's easy enough to list on its own. But you can also include your own, for example, create custom option. Let's say, I don't know, brand if you wanted to. Brand and then whatever down below. We're not going to do that, but that just gives you an idea of what you're able to do. So that is how you add a physical product. It's a little different when you're trying to add a digital one. So I'm going to explain that as well, but make sure to save your changes. So for a digital product, you would input the same information, barring one crucial thing, and that is that this is a physical product. So Shopify immediately knows that this is a digital product of sorts, and then it will be able to provide the customer with that item once we download another app. So down below, and immediately, like I said earlier on, Shopify identifies what the product is, and it's like, okay, this is a book. So how are we going to categorize this based on the presets that we know? Now, we're not going to focus on that. What I want to do now is I want to save this, and then I want to search for an app called Digital Downloads. So digital downloads. And then from here, what we do is we click on this app, we install it, and the process is very easy. So it's a free app actually, so you don't have to worry about buying it. So all you do here is click install. It's going to take you to another page where you have to verify that you want to install it. And then it'll take you to the actual dashboard for the app itself. And from here, what we do is we look up the name of the book. So I just call it audiobook for simplicity's sake. Since we don't have a lot of items right now, it's right there. So from here, we click on the book and then we find what we want to actually transfer over. So I have the audio file here. So take it, drop it, and then it's gonna download. In the meantime, I wanna tell you guys that you should go to the fulfillment gear right here, because you can determine whether or not you want to automatically send these files or manually send it. And if you want to have a limit on how many times someone can download this thing. So you have a couple of options here. But once this is downloaded, all that the customer has to do is go to the product page on your website, input their payment information, and that's pretty much it, because this isn't going to be shipped. So that information is going to be ignored. And that's pretty much all that there needs to be done. If you want a little more information on this, you can check out the link in the description where I go into a little more depth on how to add digital products so you can see the full process itself. But in essence, that is what you have to do. Now, I went ahead and added the rest of my products to my store using the same method that I showed you guys already. But the next thing we need to talk about is putting these products into categories, or collections as they're called here. So collections, just under the products tab, click on create collection. First off, you name it. And then for the description, you don't necessarily need to have one. And then the image, you just drag and drop an image or select one from your library. Down below, you have your collection type, and this is very important to know. So with the manual method, you can just go down here, browse for your items, and then click add, and it's gonna be in this collection. You can use the smart method, but this, in my opinion, requires a lot of, let's say, expertise and knowledge about your tags and all this extra stuff. So I'll show you a more efficient way of placing your items automatically into your collections. But in essence, that's how you make a collection. It's not too complicated. So like I was saying, when you have a collection already created, it's very easy to assign a product to said collection. All you have to do is go into your product catalog and head over to the product organization section. And under collections, you'll see all of the collections you've made. And for this, I just want to assign it to accessories. And then all I do is save it. And there we go. Job's done. So from here, we need to set up our menus. Now, this part's very easy because we already have our collections established. So all we need to do is to just place our collections onto the menus. So to do so, we have to search up our menu, and I already did that. So click on menu, and then you're gonna see menus right here. Before, it would have been on the left-hand side. It would have showed up as navigation, but nevertheless, we have shortcuts. That's why I'm here to help you guys out. So we have our main menu, footer menu, and then a separate menu. We're not gonna get into that for this video. So for the footer menu, this is something I'm gonna come back to later on in the video once I show you guys how to add policies. Okay, so don't think I'll forget about that. And then we have the main menu. So click on the main menu. You could rename this if you want. We're just going to leave it because there's no reason to change it. Now what we need to do is go to add menu item. And what we're going to look for is on the right side. Actually, we need to use the search bar and look for our collections. So we have the accessories, and we can just leave it as accessories. And then down here, we'll add the other collection, which is the pool. And why not throw in our entire catalog while we're at it? So we have the catalog here, actually. So we'll leave that. Now, I will remove this on the right-hand side. So if you want to get rid of a menu item, you can do it that way. And the great thing about Shopify is that we can also move around these menu items by dragging them as such. So I want to have the pool but just below the catalog, and then the accessories just below that. And that looks great. So it's not hard at all to establish your menu, maybe make another menu and adjust the ones that you already have. Now, if you want to make a separate menu, then what you can do is you can just click on create menu and then name it as such, and yada, yada, yada. So it is pretty easy to maneuver. So we've made a lot of changes to our site, and the best way to see how those have been applied is by going back to our homepage, because the first thing that you'll notice is that our main menu is different. We have the pool and accessories items now, and then we have our featured products all applied onto our page. Now you'll notice that the images aren't all aligned, and to fix this, we click on the section and then we scroll down to where it says product card and then image ratio, and choose either portrait or square. I prefer square just out of experience. It looks a little smaller than the portrait. cleans things up a bit. Now, what I also like to do is to make this a carousel. So the way we can do that is by going back up a little bit, clicking on carousel, and it just kind of cleans things up a little bit, right? And we can also change how many items we want to be included in the carousel, but I'll leave that part up to you. Now above this, what I want to add is an image with text. So to do that, we're going to head over to the left-hand side, add a section, and then here it is, the image with text. So we're actually going to duplicate this once I move this above the featured collection. So to duplicate it, just right click and duplicate as such. And now I want to have the image on the right-hand side for the bottom picture. So to do so, I'm just going to click on the section and go to placement and have the image second. From here, pretty easy. You just have to click on the box, input your own information, and then do the same for the bottom section as well. Now the text is relatively self-explanatory. You click on it and then you put in your own content. However, I wanted to talk about the buttons because you can assign the button to whatever you want just by going to the link right here and searching for your product, collection, whatever it is, similar to what we did with the menu earlier on. And so for this, we can just click on a collection, for example, and send it to the pool collection. And that way, when a customer clicks on this button, it will take them to that spot. I also want to change the alignment for the content here. So we're going to go and have the alignment to be centered, but also have the position of this to be in the middle. And then you can also tweak the mobile alignment as well. If you don't want a button, for example, right here, I don't want to have a button. You just click on it, and then you click on these three dots and you remove it. Now you'll notice for this, what I've done is included like a raffle. So for every customer that buys something and they add their email, then they'll be immediately entered in a raffle to get some sort of prize. These are the certain nuanced things that you can add to encourage people to buy things on your store. So that's a little example of what I like to do on my stores. So we've talked enough about all the content you can add to your site. Now let's talk about how we can add colors to sections. So this is relatively straightforward as well. You click on a section, and depending on what block you have will determine how many areas you can add colors to. So for example, the rich text has one color scheme. So I'll choose scheme 3 and then it's applied. Now we can also edit this scheme by going into the palette here, but not necessary. Now, when we go down below, we'll have two options for the image with text. We'll have the color scheme, which is the outline, and then the container is the content. I'll show what that looks like. So we'll go with, let's say, scheme 2 for the outside, and then we'll go with scheme 3 for the container. And you can see how that looks. It's kind of like an alternating or inversion, is that a word? Inversion? It is now, of the first color that I have here. And it just looks decent. It gives a nice pattern and it flows well with the rest of the content and colors that I'm gonna add here. Down below, we have the other image with text, and we're just gonna repeat that process, scheme 2 and then scheme 3 for the container. And then you can do that for every single one that you want. Now I'm gonna do the same for this, but you get the point. I also recommend seeing what your website looks like from the customer's perspective to make sure that you're satisfied with your changes. And the way to do that is by going to these three dots and viewing it. You can scroll around and see what your site looks like in full screen, because in the preview, we get I wouldn't even call that a half screen, but a quarter of the entire website is blocked off. So this gives you a better idea of what it's going to look like from the customer's perspective. But enough about that. Let's head into the nitty-gritty portion of this video to slowly close it out. Now for that, let's go back to the dashboard, and what I want you guys to do is to click on settings down here. Now, if you're not planning to sell anything, you could honestly stop here, but if you are, let's make sure people can actually buy stuff from you. So what I want you to do is to scroll to payments and activate Shopify payments. Fill out your business details and link your bank account. Once that's set up, people can pay with credit cards, Apple Pay, Google Pay, Payer Pay, whatever pay, it's likely going to be linked to Shopify payments. Now, if you're using PayPal, you can link that too. Just follow the steps under the PayPal section. Now, what I want you guys to do is to head down to shipping and delivery and click on general shipping rates. So with this, what we can do is we can establish where we want to ship and shipping rates. So Scroll down, you're gonna have your domestic shipping zone and rates as well as international. Now, say you wanna ship to a specific country, but you don't wanna ship to all regions of that country. Let's say the US, for example. You wanna ship to New York, California, blah, blah, blah. You can specify exactly where you wanna ship. So for that, let's go to shipping zones. Now, there is an extra step that we need to go through to make sure that happens. So click on add more countries and regions and markets. So from here, what we do is we can establish where we want to ship to, add a new market. So go to the top right, create market, and we're going to name this, let's go test market. And down here, add our conditions. So we can choose where we want to ship in particular. So let's say, let's go Canada, and then go to, oh, well, US is going to be all the way down. I could have searched it up, but you know what? Here we go. So we're going to go to Canada and the US. All right. Use local currencies. Perfectly fine. So we're going to save this, and then we're going to go back to the previous page. So now Shopify has saved this. Let's give this a refresh to make sure that it actually shows up. And so we're going to do the same thing, but now we're going to have another couple areas open up for us. So add shipping zone. And then once we go down here, you'll notice that we have Canada and the United States. However, here's the thing. Canada and the United States are included in this shipping zone. So what we can do is we can edit the zone to exclude Canada and the United States or delete it entirely. In this case, let's delete it entirely. And we're going to save this to make sure that you guys get the full picture of how this works. So add shipping zone. We're going to call this NA. Go down to where we have North America. So we can choose all of North America, Canada and the United States, or let's say we want to go to Canada. Let's choose where we want to ship. Let's go, we can exclude. It's going to be easier to, we can exclude none of it, Ontario and Prince Edward Island. And then when we go down to, let me just collapse this actually. And then when we go to the states, we have a couple states. Well, all the states are actually unmarked. So we can just choose, let's say Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, whatever. Click done. And then now it's going to ship to those provinces in Canada, and then 4 out of 60. Apparently there's 62 states in the US. So that's news to me. Nevertheless, if you want to choose the rate, click on add rate. Now, we have a couple of options. So we can either choose a flat rate at which we set up, or you can use a third-party app to determine what the rate is going to be. Now, down here, we can just name it, just call it rate. And then we can choose if we want to have a custom description, but that's not necessary for me to explain. But down here, we can either have a free rate or we can have $2, not $20. That would be abhorrence, a $2 shipping rate. And now we click on done, we hit save, and now our shipping rate to those provinces and those states are officially $2. And yeah, that's pretty much how you set up new markets and set up shipping rates. And last but definitely not least, we have our policies, and you can find this at the bottom. So this is very important to get right because this is a contract between you and your customer, and you want to make sure that you've looked it over. Now with Shopify, it's very convenient because you can input a template that they provide for you. However, make sure you look it over and put your own information. So all of these have templates barring these shipping policies. So no template for that, but it's not too complicated to do yourself. Now, once you fill it out, I want you guys to go to the footer section. So like I said, go to your menus, click on the footer menu, and then right here we have, well, that's great. Do not sell or share my personal information. I wasn't planning on it, but we're going to remove that. I love sharing my personal information. So from here, what you're going to want to do is go to the policies and then just let it rip. Just put all the policies there, just policy that thing up. And then once you're done, make sure you hit save. Then once you go back to your website and scroll down to the footer menu, you'll notice that our policies are right here. And to make sure that I'm not lying and I didn't just make everything up, you click on the privacy policy and lo and behold, it's there. Now let's just make sure that our website actually functions because I feel that's an important part of this whole process, right? So we're gonna go to the pool catalog and I don't know, let's add this to cart and see if our cart functions. All right, so we view cart and it works. We can see the total, we can add more, we can remove it if we'd like, so that's great. Now to checkout, to see what the checkout process looks like, we're gonna have to buy a plan. However, I do have my own store that I'm gonna show you this. So here's my other store, just ignore it, that it's a totally different thing. Now we're gonna go to this shirt And the process is the same. The store functions the same way. It's the same exact theme, just different content. So we're gonna do the same thing: add to cart, view carts, and then go down to checkout. And then once we get to this next page, you'll see the customer can fill out this information. And then once you have your payment, once you verify your payment credentials, then they can buy the product and you start your business. However, to actually start selling things to the public and have your store show up on the web, you're gonna have to just do one more thing, and that's come back to your online store dashboard, click on remove password, and then your store is officially live on the internet. And that is a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. You just built your own Shopify store from scratch. Not too shabby, right? If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments. I do actually read them. And don't forget to check the description for that 3-day free trial and $1 for the first 3 months deal I mentioned earlier. In case you didn't catch it, that's the version I used for this whole tutorial, just to show you how far you can get without spending a dime up front. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching as always, and until next time, make sure to take care.